All right. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to the December 21st Select Board meeting. Please note that in accordance with the emergency orders announced by Governor Charlie Baker, this Select Board meeting will not be open to the public for physical attendance, and the Select Board members are meeting online via Zoom web conference. This meeting is being live streamed in cable broadcast by Easton Community Access Television, Comcast 98, and Verizon 23, and on ECAT's website at www.eastoncat.org. If you're watching this at home and you have a question or a comment, you can email mblanchard@easton.ma.us or pose your question on the Q&A feature of the Zoom portal. Please remember to include your name and street address for the minutes. I just do want to mention that we do have some interviews for board vacancies tonight. Those people are in the waiting room, and when it's your turn for the interview, we'll pull you into the room so that you can speak. So I know that we've just gotten a couple of questions on that. At this time, I'd like to ask each select board member to state their name to ensure we have a quorum.
Greg Barger.
Tom Broussard.
Chuck King.
Mark Lamb.
And Dottie Fulgenetti. Thank you. So the first item that we have is the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee appointments. We had been designated as an age and dementia-friendly community probably about a year ago, and we were getting ready to put this committee together, and then COVID hit, so it kind of fell by the wayside. I do want to say that with this comes under the Department of Health and Human Services, and with everything that's been going on and the work that they've been doing, the fact that they still are prioritizing this and moving this ahead is really very impressive. And I just want to thank them, Kristen Kennedy and Ann Daly, for doing that. So we have a packed agenda tonight. We're going to just do these interviews as quickly as possible. And we're going to start with Kim Bales. If we could move Kim into the window. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Terrific. So Kim, we just want to get to know you a little bit. If you could just tell us quickly what you, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and why you'd like to serve on this committee.
Okay, so I'm Kim Bales. I'm a resident of Easton. I have two teenage children in the middle school, Easton Middle School, and I'm part of, it's called Old Colony Elder Services. Actually, we just changed our name to OCES. We service the Easton community, and we work on providing services and keeping older adults in their community. So the reason I want to be a part of this actual age-friendly committee is I have a lot of resources, I have a lot of background that can be able to benefit. And then it's also near and dear to my heart because this is our community, my community. I'm going to grow up here. I'm going to be at that point where I'll need services at some point. And my children are going to grow up here too. So it's important to me.
Thank you. Craig, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions?
OCES, is that for Bristol County, or is it all counties, or what groups?
So we service Plymouth County, Stoughton, Easton, and Avon. So we do 26 communities. So we work with the Easton Council on Aging. We provide the Meals on Wheels. We provide services, volunteers. So we collaborate, and then Ann Daly actually sits on our board as a representative from the Easton community.
So you're located in Brockton?
We have an office in Brockton and we have an office in Plymouth. Currently, we're all remote, but we're still doing essential services. So we check on the older adults that need the services. We still are doing Meals on Wheels and a few other additional things with additional funding that we've gotten.
Great, thank you.
Tom?
Kim, first of all, thank you for your interest. And second of all, could you just speak a little bit how the Good Sam Medical Center Community Benefits Advisory Committee functions and what you bring to the table by being a member of that?
Sitting on that committee, we actually provide, so they have a pocket of funding that they have to provide to their local community, and we help them identify what is the best resources for that funding. I'm a newly member of that committee, but it's very beneficial because it provides a lot of resources to me, and then a lot of connections to me and my organization that we have outside of Easton. There's like Father Bill's, there's a few representation from Charity Guild and a few others. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Not at all. You're doing great. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Dottie.
I think it's really good to be a part of that community because I also see where there's needs. And a lot of times there might be needs in Brockton and Stoughton and also in Easton, and we can really collaborate together as a bigger force than just our own community.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Chuck, any questions?
Hi, Kim. You say you're new to the community?
No, I've lived here my son was 5 years old. So we've been here for about 11 years, 12 years.
Okay, terrific. You mentioned in your materials that a skill that you have that would be beneficial would be your creativity. Could you expand on that a little bit, please?
So at OCS, I actually am the development manager. And that's kind of, I kind of say jack of all trades, but a master of none, because you kind of find all your resources. But I do communications for them, marketing. I also do a little bit of design. And so I feel that I'm creative and trying to figure out ways to communicate to people. I can create designs and other things that maybe sometimes people don't have those resources or access to that stuff.
Thank you.
Mark?
Hi, Kim. How are you tonight?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm well. You being the first interview, you've really set the bar very high. Looking over what you bring to the table and what the creation of this this board. This board has charges and it has duties and tasks. What probably a question I'm going to ask everyone, but what do you see as a vision over like the next year, 2, 3 years? What do you want to accomplish?
I think it just awareness and education. It can take a long time to get the communication out there. I know some of the things that like the age-friendly collaborative wants, it's transportation, housing, and those are big things to tackle, but it's just trying to find out what the community really needs and how do we get that awareness and education out there before, we really make full force of what our priorities are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So one of the things, just to kind of back up a little bit, for this, for the age and dementia friendly communities, there's 8 domains of livability, and one of them is transportation, one is housing, communications, social interactions. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. Outdoor spaces, I think, and other health related things. So what this committee will do is they'll look at that list and they're going to pick probably 3 domains to focus on and really dig in with Easton to see, what are we doing now? What could we do better? And then create an action plan on how to get there. And it's a 5-year process to identify. There's already been some community input and surveys, and they're going to review that, potentially do more investigation into that, which will inform them as to how to create the action plan. So I think that's it's going to be a great opportunity to have new people, new faces involved in this and take a look at it. One thing I do want to mention is that once this group forms and gets together, the group will decide on when and how they meet. We're thinking it's going to be once a month during the day for an hour. So, but the group will figure out the details of that. So you'll be able to do that kind of a schedule, Kim?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you. You did great. You didn't look nervous at all. And
I was very nervous.
it's a little easier to do it in person, I think, sometimes. So I appreciate you being here on Zoom tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
And just so you know, at the end of this, the board will vote the people for the committee, and then whoever is voted on to that committee will get an email from the town clerk with instructions on how to swear in and so forth.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to ask Ernie Smith to come on.
Dottie, I don't see Mr. Smith in the attendees.
If you see him come on, can you let me know, because he had a timing conflict, so I wanted to try to move him up to the front.
Of course.
Next, we'll do Kathy Adler.
I don't see Kathy either.
Okay. Doug Crowley.
Doug was here.
Yeah, I saw him earlier.
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Susan Malkin. Susan Kelly. That's who that is.
Oh,
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hi, Dottie. I'm well. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
And thanks for being here tonight. So
My pleasure.
we wanted to just get to learn a little bit more about you. So if you would like to tell us about yourself and your background and why you'd like to serve on this committee.
Sure. My name is Susan Malkin Kelly, and I am an Easton resident of probably 41 years now. And I raised 3 children in this community, and I have 9 grandchildren, 3 of whom are still in this community. I became interested in the age-friendly communities project when last year I was championing a project to bring lifelong learning to the community, geared towards seniors and volunteer opportunities. And that project is now stalled, but it really opened my eyes to the amazing wealth of possibilities there is in this community to enrich the lives of seniors, and then in turn enrich the lives of the community. So in that project, I would also say that in the realm of the age-friendly communities, I'm particularly interested in the areas of community building and social connection. It's always been an interest of mine. Early on, I was one of the co-founders of the Easton Children's Museum for the same reason. Now just my interests have kind of matured. But I'm also a psychiatrist. And so as a psychiatrist, I am acutely aware of how social connection and connectivity is a major determinant of both physical health and mental health and cognitive, retaining cognitive function. So, I think in this community, there are lots of opportunities for seniors. They're pretty dispersed. There's the library, there's the Council on Aging, there's the Y, there's even Stonehill. I think a lot of people are not aware that these opportunities exist, and they're often not very well communicated. So I think the town can do a better job in that regard in terms of making people aware of what there is. But I think also there's a huge wealth of other opportunities, and that that meet other as yet undetermined needs and interests. I think there really are quite endless opportunities for social connection and lifelong learning, and also volunteerism. Seniors are a group of people who often have great skills and significant time. And if they knew how to put their skills and their time to work for the town or for the community, I think they could meet lots of needs among themselves to promote independent living longer, but also to meet the needs of the community at large.
Great, thank you. Just going to jump into the questions. Craig, do you have any questions?
I'm curious, Susan, how are you tonight? Are you currently at Harvard, or are you at Butler? Where are you practicing?
So currently, I am working half-time at Harvard, yes. And I'm in the middle of a transition. So I'm actually working currently more than half-time because I'm also trying out a job at the University of Colorado, which is remote, fully remote. It's a different model of bringing psychiatry into primary care doctors' offices as opposed to carrying a patient load.
You bring certainly a huge amount of experience and education. So I don't have any other questions. I'm impressed, and I've known Susan for a while, so I'm impressed with what you have to offer.
Thanks, Craig. Tom.
I have not had the pleasure of actually meeting Susan, but your resume is equally impressive to me as well. I guess, have a question that I found, or an interesting aspect. I know that you care about healthy aging, and I saw that you were a health coordinator from the Attleboro Public Schools.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was very interesting to see you move along the age continuum as you continue the message of being healthy. What are the aspects from an aging continuum that you think you can bring to the table? Certainly, I know when most people think about dealing with aging and living healthy, we automatically think perhaps to those folks that are more senior in age, but I think it is a continuum. So how does your experience from the Attleboro Public Schools integrate into what we're trying to accomplish here?
So the Attleboro Public Schools was about bringing health education and wellness into the K through 12 spectrum without really hiring new staff or spending very much money. So it was about convincing other people to look at what they were doing from the perspective of how they could integrate health promotion. So teach a math problem using health concepts, or discuss literary themes from that perspective, but were model social interactions, but it was about not really spending any money that was not sustainable. And it was a real interesting challenge. It was a very political job because it was all about building relationships with people, because that's what you got to bargain with. We did some things that did cost money. We built a physical health center in the school. Yeah.
Awesome. That's neat.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for coming in tonight.
You're
meeting
welcome.
you.
My pleasure.
When you were at Butler Hospital, it says adult psychiatry. Does that mean geriatric or adults of any age?
So I was unit chief of the general adult psychiatry unit, and we in a psychiatric hospital that had all other specialty units. We had all patients from 16 to 85, and we're expected to treat everybody. There was a geriatric unit, but that was mostly for dementia
Mhm.
patients, people needing longer term placement somewhere.
Thank you. I like how you've integrated in your appearance this evening the aspects of lifelong learning and how it ties into the charge. Specifically, I see one phrase in the charge that an age-friendly community is not just elder-friendly, but also intended to be friendly for all ages. Thank you.
Mark?
Hey, Susan, nice to meet you. How are you this evening?
Hi, Mark. Good, thanks.
Looking over your very impressive background, I noticed that you put in, you have skills in grant writing. This town leans on grants an incredible amount. So could you talk about your experience in grant writing and how it could be useful on this committee?
Sure. So for 10 years before I went to medical school, I was a writer, a jack of all trades writer. So I wrote for high-tech companies, their annual reports, their quarterly reports. I ghost wrote a book, but I also did grant writing for Wheaton College. And then when I went to work at Attleboro, the funding for the project was through the tobacco money, and I'm forgetting the exact name of the grant. It was a huge grant, and I had to write the grant, and I had to do the needs assessment, and I had to do the program evaluations, and I had to rewrite it every year that it came back up, or justify what we were doing so we could get our money.
Great. And Susan, so as far as the meeting once a month during the day at some point for an hour or so, does that something that you think you'd be able to do?
Yes, I would definitely be able to do it. It will be better in May when I go back to my full part-time status as opposed to this juggling two jobs, but always with advance notice. I can carve out an hour in my day or more.
Okay, terrific.
But I will have part-time status again in the spring.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here tonight. And like I said to Kim, after the interviews, we'll take a vote. And if you are appointed, you'll hear from our town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Susan.
Thank you,
All right.
Susan.
Hey, Jean Parinello, and I see her in the attendees as Jean. Hi, Jean. Can you hear us? I think you're on mute.
Okay.
Hi, Jean. There you are.
Okay, good.
Thank you for coming tonight so that we can learn a little bit more about you. If you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your interest is in serving on this committee.
Okay, well, my name is Jean Parinello, and I've lived in Easton for 22 years, and I'm a nurse and have been a nurse for a lot more than those 22 years. And my background in nursing has been with the aging population a lot. I've worked in the visiting nurse area where most of the clients that we served were in the geriatric range, and they were homebound. And so we dealt with people who had limited contact with the outside, so we were sometimes the only person that they saw. So we dealt with some of their social issues. I also worked in several skilled nursing facilities over the years and dealt with that population. Um, in the more recent years, I am working for Harvard Pilgrim, and I dealt with some of the rehab patients, Spalding in particular, where not just elderly, but all ages in various stages of rehab. So people who needed assistance with mobility and things like that. So, and I've always been interested in the lack of availability for the things that people need when they're not able to get them themselves. So, for example, transportation, availability to get to and from the places they need to get to. That's the primary thing. And then that bounces off everything. They can't get to social things. They can't get to doctor's appointments, which impacts their health. They can't get to grocery stores, which easily, which also impacts their health. And they just can't get to things that they used to do. And whether they're young adults that are disabled in some way, or whether they are elderly and just can't drive anymore, or things like that. I did serve on the Easton Disabilities Commission for about 3 years, I think, maybe about 10 years ago. And I was aware of some of the things that they were doing to try to get some interest and some awareness of transportation issues in Easton, but we didn't get very far with that. We were trying to get more awareness, and I think that was the focus that we could work on more in general, and I know there is, the Council on Aging does have transportation, but I think it probably could be more, and even for the younger people that need that assistance.
Terrific. Thanks, Jean. We're going to go around in the same order, and board members will ask you questions. So I'm going to start with Craig.
Hi, Jane. It's Craig Barger. How are you tonight?
Hi. Just fine. How are you?
Good, good. In your resume here, it indicates that your occupation is nurse fraud investigator. I'm really curious as to what that is.
Okay. Well, as I said, I work for Harvard Pilgrim, and before I started doing this, I was a case manager, and that's pretty. I was, working directly with patients, and I switched over to this. It's the first time in my career that I don't deal directly with patients. What I do is a lot of research into the claims that come into Harvard Pilgrim from doctors, from labs, from outpatient facilities, and look for patterns that are suspicious. So there might be, everybody bills a particular x-ray, for example, at $500, and then Dr. Smith down the road bills it at $7,000. And we look at those kind of things. It's very much data oriented. So we, and then we investigate, we look at the records to see if it supports the, that's what mostly that I do, the record review, because I'm the clinician in the group, and look at, see whether the records justify the charges, and see if, and then we talk to the members to see if they actually had the test or had the services that the provider is billing for. Very interesting.
Thank you very much, Jean.
Tom. You're on mute, Tom.
I can fix that. Hi, Jean. Tom
Hi.
Bouchard, nice to meet you. And thank you for your service in the Disabilities Commission earlier and your interest in the position today. I actually don't have any questions because you answered them. I do want to reemphasize something that you said, though, because it actually struck a personal chord for me. And that's the need for transportation and consideration for that for our elders. I can tell you personally that my dad utilized our Council on Aging transportation services, and I never appreciated how complex and difficult it is for our seniors to get out and get active and get to hospital appointments. I can tell you it started with myself making many of those appointments and missing time from work, and then realizing that there were too much for me to accommodate. And the Council on Aging and Kristen Kennedy and her team specifically were incredible godsend. And it was such an important opportunity for my dad to get out and get more active. And so I just want to thank you for pointing that out. And certainly I think the rest of your resume speaks for itself, and it's very well acquitted. So thank you again for your interest.
You're welcome.
And Chuck.
Hi, Jean. How you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
All right, thanks. I don't have much to ask either. I do appreciate your being here and your experience in the medical field. It speaks about from small children to the elderly. And I don't have any other questions. I don't have any questions.
Mark.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Excellent. My question is short and succinct. So what is it that has really drawn you to this committee? What's the draw for you?
Well, the idea of it being age friendly, I noticed that the other folks that were interested were much younger than I am, and I'm aging in place here in Easton, hopefully. So it's a selfish mode in some respects that I want to make sure that there are services and things that will be available to me when I'm in need of them. And I also have neighbors in my condo complex that have availed themselves of some of the services that are available, and had talked to me about some of the things that they wished were available, like the transportation. So I thought, while I'm not needing those services, let me make sure that I can do something to help get those services in place.
All very good reasons. Thank you.
And Jean, I just want to make sure that you are going to be able to make yourself available probably once a month during the day for an hour or so for one of these meetings.
Absolutely. Like I said, I work for Harvard Pilgrim, but I always work at home, and they do encourage us to participate in civic activities. So all I just have to let them know is I'll be unavailable for an hour or so, whatever I need to schedule a meeting.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Well, we are going to go to the next interview, and we will be making the appointments tonight. And if you are selected, you will hear from our town clerk about the next steps. And we do have Ernie Smith on the phone. So if we could move him into the Zoom window. Hi, Ernie, you are on mute. If you can unmute yourself. I think on a phone, that's pressing *6. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, Ernie. How are you?
Well, I apologize, first of all, we're not able to get through. I'm not an IT person, but we have one here, but she wasn't able to get through either.
Well, we'll have to have a talk with your IT person. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Ernie, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in serving on this committee, and then I'm going to go around and have each of the select board members ask you a question.
Okay, my name is Ernest Smith, Ernest J. Smith. We lived in Easton for approximately 52 years. I've always had self-employment out of Easton, so I didn't know very much about the town, although we had a couple of young people in high school and grammar school, but I was always out because of being self-employed. So after 2011, I decided to downsize and spend time in the town, get to know people and what the town was all about. And I've been encouraged to participate in a number of organizations such as the American Legion, the Grange, and we have the VB Veteran Business Owners Initiative, which we operate out of Brockton, and that is to assist veterans that wishes to start their own businesses. And we're also working with vets that do not know all that is available to them now that they have successfully served and honorably discharged. So we're contributing as best we can back to the community. And I was asked about the age committee, and I need to know more about it, but I'm impressed with what I just heard from the other candidate. So
Great.
that's a bit about me.
Thank you. So Craig, do you have any questions for Ernie?
My question only, Ernie, is relative to the you self-employed as a contractor?
That is correct. I'm sure we all know about the Big Dig. So I went in business for myself in about 1970 and stayed for about 30 years. And just 2011, I semi-retired, meaning downsized, and we do renovations now rather than the heavy construction, road, bridges, and tunnels.
Okay, I don't really have any other questions, Ernie. Thank you very much for applying.
Thank you.
Oh.
Ernie, thank you also for applying. And do you have any experience along the way that lends itself specifically to this position and that you might be able to bring to bear regarding this committee?
Well, the fact that I am of age, shall we say, but thank the good Lord we are physically fit and continue to do what is necessary. I find myself, if I was to judge, a problem solver. So that's my approach to life at this stage in my life.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And Chuck?
I have no question.
And
Thank
Mark?
you.
I have no questions. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, Ernie.
Thank you.
So Ernie, we were looking probably that this committee will meet once a month during the day for an hour or so. Is that something that you can accommodate into your schedule?
Yes, as long as I know in advance, not a problem.
Okay, terrific. And Ernie, I know you in many different ways, but especially from your work with the veterans. So I want to thank you for your service, not only as a veteran, but also your service in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Okay, and looking through, Pratima Penyumarthy, is she still in the window? Yep, if we could move her into the Zoom. Hello, Pratima. If you can unmute yourself.
Please, 1 second. Yeah,
There you
I
go.
have to open the video. I'm not, yeah, I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's nice to hear all of you. And it was very nice. Actually, today I felt like it was like more like a learning session. So I was learning from each of the persons. I think Ernie, the one who just spoke, Ernie, I just wrote the name, and Kim, Susan, Jeannie. I mean, I think they're amazing people. I'm learning a lot from each of them. And I think compared to all of them, I've lived here for, in Easton for 12 years, you know, from last 12 years. Before that, we lived in Stoughton. But yeah, there's a lot to learn about myself. I have 2 daughters who are now, older one is in college final year. She's in the pre-med track, and the younger one is doing her business in Bentley. So anyway, they both are in that college thing, and me and my husband, again, Ramakrishna, was with the town. He's always there and always working and doing a lot of community services. Myself on my part too, like, you know, I've been doing a lot of community service for a long time. And I'm very, very connected to this particular age-friendly when this popped up. And I was thinking that this is one thing which is very, very close to my heart. I can keep on telling you a lot, but I don't want to take too much time.
Terrific. And you have a Facebook page that talks about older people and
Absolutely.
services. So,
I can tell you about that too. I don't know how much, I mean, I'm pretty sure some know, some don't know, but I was the caretaker for both my parents. My mom was with me, both my mom and dad, almost in 2015, they were, I mean, from 2015, they were with me here from India. I got them here for good because I'm the only child for them. And I took care of them. I was a complete caretaker. And my mother was detected with, the terminal cancer. She had colon cancer and the gallbladder, which was very hard to take. And from that time, I realized that a lot of things I was going through her, and my father was not, again, physically strong. He was himself a stroke victim. So right now, my dad is there still with me, but I lost my mom this August to cancer. But with my dad and with my mom, I'm sorry, sometimes I get very emotional.
It's okay. You can take a minute, Pratima.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Pratima, it's all right.
One of the things that I like about Pratima and her husband is I know them from the Lions Club, amongst other things. Pratima has done a lot of work with younger people in math and setting up things for them. There's a math challenge contest, and that's a statewide thing. And she's been very instrumental in that. And the cultural differences between some of the groups and the way that they look at their older people is what really attracted me to the website or the Facebook page that Pratima has, because it's very connected to different cultural values for aging, and it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, because I think I'm sorry for this. I just get emotional whenever I talk about my mom.
That's okay.
But yeah, when I was actually was with her and doing with her and doing the caregiving for her, I realized that there's so many Indian families. I mean, I don't want to just say Indian families, but there's so many families in and around the world, like, who don't know what resources you can get, how can you take care of your family, and who to approach. And I think I in my research, I found out, like, it was very hard initially, very hard, but I made sure, because I thought, like, in order to get some resources, in order to get something fruitful for parents, you need to really slog, you need to really do the deep research, otherwise you don't get. So I made sure to go and talk with the hospice people, the palliative departments, and get most of the information, whatever I could get. And it really helped to a great extent for my mother. I knew that her days were coming close, but even during that time, I could see that, what services I could get from hospice, and they used to come home, take care of her. And I, on my part, learned so many things which I can do myself for my mother. And at the same time, even though my father didn't come under hospice, he still has a lot of other issues. So I was trying to juggle between both of them. But in the meantime, I don't want to use the word I had any sort of stress. No, for me, the more thing was, what can I do now? This is how I am doing. I need to help someone who doesn't even know what are the different resources they can get, right? What I could do, I personally did together research. And I found that when I started that group, Dottie, I personally saw that there were a lot of people who actually texted me, emailed me, and to find out, like, whether in Michigan, all the way in Texas, and which actually I was happy, it's not just our state, it's coming from all the states, like what way can we, how can we do this for our parents, right? And if my mother is suffering so and so, who is the correct person to go and talk to? Even though I can just talk about my state, I just told them, I did research for them, and I was trying to tell them, maybe you can go and talk to so and so person who can help you for getting the companion services for them or any sort of volunteering work. Sort of, it gave me a lot of mental peace. Every second when I did that, I felt like, yeah, it was giving me mentally and physically, it was making me more stronger and stronger day by day. And I felt like it's not just my parents, there's so many who need resources around the world. And I think this is the only channel by which I can do.
Oh, thank you. Craig, do you have any questions?
I know Pratima from the Human Rights Committee, so it's nice to see you again. I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Tom.
Pratima, I just want to express an appreciation for your genuine compassion, and there is no apologies necessary at all. I can personally relate to a lot of the items that you talked about. I can tell you, from somebody at my age, I felt entirely inadequate to care for my elder, and it was really hard to figure out what resources were available, to your point, and to try to learn and ask knowledgeable people I can tell you that there are many people in this town. I already mentioned Kristen, but a lot of people gave me great advice, and the town services were incredibly helpful. And I am so heartened by people like you being motivated to join this type of a committee, because I think, especially your educational background or bent, that you can really get information out into people's hands in a way that they can use it. So I'm very excited to see that you applied for this, and I think your message is heartfelt and spot on, and it's greatly appreciated by me. So thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Chuck?
Hi, Pratima, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
All right, I'm surprised that you've only been here in town 12 years, because you've been such a force for good in the community. It seems like much more than that. Thank you. My question is in regard to, it's apparent how much experience you have with the elder community. My question for you is, one of the items on the charge is, how do we integrate the activities of the elder community with those who are not elder?
I think the most important thing I saw now is, as I was telling about, like, let us take the unprecedented time like what we are facing now, like COVID. And I find that after losing any one of the partners, and I've always found that in elderly people, the loneliness has come about too much in their life. And for this, I felt like I had gone, I didn't care. I put mask and everything. I went all the way to help, elderly person was staying alone, just to go and spend some time with them. And I really want that, right? If there is a high schooler, middle school grader, or even anyone who's working, who has a time, at their disposal, at least like 1 hour or 2 hours with them, who can do that voluntary service of going to the elderly person's house, spending some time, and I think really fruitful time. Like if the person likes to read a book, they can go and read a book for them. Or, if they like to play something, just play a game with them. Something by which they don't feel lonely. And that's what I saw in my dad right now. Like I just sit with him. He loves reading books. I sit with him, give books, and I talk with him regarding books. Then I felt, this is not possible. This is possible for my dad because I'm with him, right? He's always there with me. It's not possible for people who's all alone, right? So that's where exactly I wanted is getting youngsters, because it's age friendly, getting everyone, not just elderly people, but even younger kids who can come and just stay with them and also read and do the real volunteering from their heart. It's not like it's my job and I'm going to get 5 credits for doing this.
Thank you.
And Mark?
Hi, Pratima, how are you?
Doing good, Mark.
Good. I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. I can relate to your situation to a degree. And I think your recent experiences have really impacted you and shifted your perspective. And words can't describe what you're feeling and what you saw and what you see that is absent. And I think that this board or that experience has presented a calling for you to be part of this because there is so much passion pouring out of you. And I can see it's really shifted how you look at things that a lot of us just didn't see before or didn't know. So I'm really happy you're here.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. And I personally wanted to say this because this town has done wonderful for everything. I mean, I've actually called up many times Council of Aging. And what I really found here was that when I asked, like there was a situation when I was dealing with both my parents, where I really wanted somebody who could, if I give a call, and say that there is a volunteer who can come. And when I called East Council of Aging, they said, unfortunately, we don't have that service in the town, right? Really, people can go and volunteer for someone. And then I felt that it's not easy to, if I go to care.com and get some people, right? But that person, it's something very different. I just called them for a couple of hours, right? And it was not a big help I could really get, actually running between juggling with two parents. But I really found that, it would have been so nice if in our community, in our town itself, we had someone who could just at the call of, just one single call and say that. I know it is difficult, but it's not impossible. That's what I felt now, is that, can anyone come? Like, I'm really not stressed out, right? Is there anyone who can just come and help me, right? If something is wrong here. And I think it's not just Eastern Council of Aging, but I think it should be community has to come together for this. It needs to be a stronger community for doing this. And I think it's possible. It's definitely possible because what I faced, and I'm 100% sure, like everyone's life, we all have parents, we all faced it, and we are still facing it. So people will come out. I have very much positive thought about it.
Thank you, Pratima. And so you would, I presume, be able to make a meeting once a month for an hour or so?
Absolutely.
All right, great. Well, thank you for being here. I'm very sorry to hear about your mom and I really appreciate.
Sorry. Whenever this discussion comes, I really wanted to control, but I couldn't. Like,
I know each one of the board members has lost a loved one over the past year, so we can all really relate to you.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank you, Pratima.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so Kathy Adler and Doug Crowley weren't here tonight, so I just want to talk a little bit about them. I think probably many of us know Kathy, and I had reached out to her to see if she was interested in joining this committee. I'm really looking for diversity on this committee, especially, but in all of our committees. And Kathy also refers to herself as disabled. She has some mobility challenges, and she also represents the LGBTQ community, which is very important in older people's issues. And I thought that was really important. That was in her application as well. And then I spoke with Doug, and Doug had a very interesting perspective. He's in construction, and he has a lot of talents and skills that he wanted to be able to offer the elderly that are still living on their own, that they might need help in their house or out of their house. So immediately I was thinking of the Affordable Housing Trust for some of the work that they've done. And I talked to him about this. I think he brings a really great skill set, especially if we're talking about different abilities and home modifications and so forth. But he's 53 years old and he's still working. And he said it would probably be a challenge for him to make the monthly meetings. So we have 7 candidates in 6 positions. And when I was talking to him, I asked him if he was not appointed, would he still consider coming to any of the meetings that he could attend what we've done in the past is sometimes we've expanded the committees to when we have a lot of great candidates, but then it becomes a problem of trying to meet the quorum. Mm-hmm. So he said he would still be interested in coming to the meetings, even if he was not appointed, as many of them as he could. So I don't know if that, I really liked him. I really think he's got a great skill set and he can offer value, probably not just on this committee, but on other committees as well. So what I would want to recommend is that we nominate the other candidates to the actual committee and still keep in touch with him and inform him of when the meetings are and invite him to join them. So anybody have any comments or questions on that?
I don't. I think it's a good idea. I thought all of the candidates that presented themselves tonight were incredibly well suited for it. And I know Kathy as well, and looking at what she submitted in terms of her experience is very impressive. I would absolutely want to include her as well. And if Doug voiced some concern regarding being able to attend meetings, but we can still get the benefit of connecting him with opportunities for him to contribute and still let that committee benefit from his potential engagement. It sounds like that would be a good fit. So I think that would be a good solution and a good recommendation as well.
Yeah, and it's important on some of these committees, especially around older services, there's not usually a lot of men that are involved. So I really would like to have that kind of diversity, in this arena as well.
Good point.
Anyone else?
I agree.
All right, so could we do this as a slate, Connor?
You could, but I would ask you to specify for the minutes that you are looking for appointment by roll call to Adler, Bales, Kelly, Parinello, Pettamarthy, and Smith for a term to end June 30, 2021. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So one of you could move as I presented it, seconded, and roll call.
So moved.
Second it, Barger.
That's King and Barger, and a roll call vote. Craig?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Fulgenetti, yes for the slate. All right, thank you.
Great.
And thank you to everyone who came tonight to share that, their introductions with us. We appreciate
Very,
it.
very impressive group, Daddy.
Just going to
Yep.
say the same, Mr. Barger. Very impressive.
The next item we have is a public hearing for FinMag Incorporated doing business as McGuire's. Do we have a hearing notice on that?
Yes, we do, and I'll get to it in a second. Hang on one second. Bear with me.
Juggling a lot of paper tonight.
I know it's tough. It's a tough thing. But unlike some people, I don't have two computers going in front of me, so I can,
I know. I have two computers and a pile of paper.
you know. Yeah. Okay, so this one is, okay, here we go. The Select Board of Easton as licensing authorities will hold a public hearing via remote participation using the Zoom platform on Monday, December 21st, 2020 at 6:45 PM to consider and act upon the application of FinMag Inc. doing business as McGuire's Bar and Grill for an alteration of premises of an existing Section 12 restaurant all alcohol beverage license for premises situated at 503 Foundry Street, Easton, Mass, with a plan on file at the Select Board office.
Craig? So this is, you've already been before the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is really just a vote to extend the liquor license to your outdoor dining. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes, so just for the board's benefit, you may recall McGuire's was one of the establishments that applied for, was granted a permit for expanding their outdoor seating temporarily under the governor's COVID orders in your outdoor dining policy. Mr. Levine has gone before the ZBA and was granted a permit to make that expanded outdoor seating permanent. And so exactly this vote today would be simply to allow the alcohol service to also extend to this expanded outdoor dining area.
Okay, and this was circulated to town departments for comment. There were no concerns.
Correct.
Any questions from the board? Neil, do you want to tell us a little bit about your outdoor dining and how that's going for you? Welcome tonight.
Sure. I'd like to just kind of give you a quick read of the letter that I submitted to you back in August and give you an update on things that are going on. So we're seeking, as you know, a minor modification to our previously approved outdoor dining premises. In 2006, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved a special permit. The Planning and Zoning Board approved a site plan on the Select Board, and the ABCC approved a modification of premises to allow for outdoor dining at our restaurant. This year, the town of Easton graciously approved a temporary modification to our outside dining due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are seeking approval to allow those temporary modifications to become permanent. We've taken a pretty big hit over the past several years. For much of 2019, the Five Corner Sewer construction project pretty much decimated our business. We lost hundreds of thousands of dollars due to traffic, detours, delays, and road closures. For most of 2020, we've been decimated by COVID-19. Our revenues are down, our operating expenses has increased exponentially. We've invested over $100,000 in improvements to keep our current operation viable. Through all of this, we've not laid off one employee. Up until about a week ago, we hadn't closed one day. Last week, we had we didn't have to. We voluntarily ceased operations. We had an employee who tested positive for COVID-19, and we felt it was the right thing to do to shut down, test our employees, get everyone back up, and continue to pay our staff through the shutdown. So that loss of revenue, paying the staff for COVID-19 testing, that added another 6 figures to our losses this year. We're expecting an additional burden of the sewer betterments that we'll have to start paying probably sometime in 2021 to negatively affect our bottom line. We established our business 27, almost 28 years ago in the town of Easton. During that time, we have become a leader in the community. We have a flawless reputation. We've been operating our outside dining that you so graciously allowed us to do temporarily, expanded since the pandemic. We got the go-ahead to do so. We've not had any incidents. This minor modification that we seek will allow us some relief to the catastrophic economic impact that we've been suffering and probably will continue to suffer into 2021. I'm not saying this because I'm in front of you, but I'd like to thank the town. You've been extremely gracious, extremely helpful. Everyone from Inspectional Services to the Board of Select people, just the town has been extremely supportive of us. And we appreciate everything you've done for us. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Neil.
You're
And, you know, Neil has been working with the Economic Development Council in a working group to promote outside Easton, or Easton outside. Am I saying it backwards?
Easton outside.
Easton outside. So look for those video clips on Facebook. It's been really exciting to see the restaurants and small businesses band together to support each other through that, and really encouraging people to do takeout when they can, to eat safely outdoors. It's, you know, something that we're trying to maybe get used to in this part of the Northeast that we haven't done before, to be outdoors socially distanced and get gift certificates. And, you know, one thing I'll say about getting takeout that I never really thought about before was tipping. And, you know, since I don't eat out as much anymore, I think it's important to remember to tip well and to really thank the people that are out there working hard for us, like your people, your staff. So thank you very much, Neil. Mark, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, not to the economic development piece. I think you did a good job covering. But as far as Neil, you're a champion in this town. You, Mike, Pat, McGuire's, you guys are part of the fabric of this community. You know, you're so involved in everything and you root for everyone. And this community is just so thankful to have you. I hope that 2021 is kinder to you, and let's all get some honey hots sometime soon.
Cheers to honey hots. Craig, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I just, Neil, I don't know if you availed yourself previously to the PPPs when the CARES Act came out. But I know that what I'm reading today is that the new stimulus package, if you will, is going to involve additional PPP for those companies that kept their people on, but at increased costs, and whether or not you can apply for that to help with you economically.
Thank you. We're chasing everything we can go after.
I have some information if you're interested in.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay.
I would just echo a lot of the comments that Mark said. I mean, Neil, you're just an institution. Your organization is an institution in our town. And, you know, I remember when this really started, you really took the bull by the horns and demonstrated just an impressive amount of safety considerations. And I can tell you personally, multiple times I have driven up to get the food and been called up safely distancing before we were able to have outdoor dining. And for a lot of people, I think you demonstrated what right could look like, what was possible. And I think we all try to strive to figure out what the next chapter of COVID means to us. And I can tell you for my family and for so many others, you showed how to execute takeout food safely. And I think hopefully a lot of people in our town and community support you through that and continue to support you through that. I only disagree with Mark in that I miss the fish and chips, not the honey huts, so to speak. I love the honey huts, but I'm missing the fish and chips. But on a sincere note, thank you so much for what you folks do. And if the town services have been great, I give them credit. Our town services are incredible. And if the select board and I specifically have helped in any small way, please know we wish we could do more to help people like you and the rest of the businesses in our community. Just please stick with it. You know, getting takeout from a great food place like McGuire's brings a little bit of smile and happiness to anybody that has the good fortune to do it. So thank you for what you've done for the town, for your team members, and for the community overall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, for all you've done for the community. And I just said, I'm not on the planning board, but can you just give me a really condensed version of a sentence or two? Like what the tent is like? It's fully self-enclosed? Describe it just a little.
Well, the current tent that we have up it's a 20 by 30 tent. It's a frame tent. There's no interior poles. It's all supported by like a peak pole that goes in the middle. It's surrounded by 2 foot thick by roughly 2.5 foot tall granite barriers that weigh about 10,000 pounds each. And it's level, so it has access for wheelchairs and handicapped accessible. In the summertime, it's all open. In the wintertime, we enclose it with some walls. And we have a heater that takes hot, fresh air from the outside and brings it in. So we're getting fresh air into the tent while it is enclosed. It is getting hot, fresh air in the colder weather. Our goal is to keep the temperature inside the tent always at 70 degrees. So depending on the outside temperature, the warmer it is outside, the more we open the tent up, and the colder it gets, the more we've been able to close it in. And we haven't had the temperature drop below 70. We've had some pretty like 28-degree nights out there, and it's been pretty warm in there. So,
thank you.
Getting people to think about, is it okay to eat in the wintertime in a tent is kind of, that's part of the East End Outside challenge that we're getting. It's like, it's not too cold, you're just not dressed warm enough. And getting people to think about it's safe to go outside and do that type of stuff is kind of what we're striving for all the businesses in town, not just McGuire's.
Well done, thank you.
The rising tide lifts all the ships, as they say.
So Craig, would you like to make the motion for FinMag doing business as McGuire's Bar and Grill for an alteration of premises of an existing Section 12 restaurant all alcoholic beverage license 503 Foundry Street, Easton, Mass?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard, and starting with you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
And yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Thank you. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. Have a good night.
Have a good Christmas, everybody.
You too.
You as well.
Okay, next we have another public hearing for Shoveltown Brewery Incorporated for an alteration of premises on an existing Section 12 restaurant all alcoholic beverage license on 50 Oliver Street, Easton. Craig, if you want to read the
Select Board of Easton as licensing authorities will hold a public hearing via remote participation using the Zoom platform on Monday, December 21st, 2020 at 6:55 p.m. to consider and act upon the application of Shoveltown Brewery Incorporated for an alteration of premises of an existing farmer brewery pouring permit for premises situated at 50 Oliver Street, Easton, Mass, with a plan on file at the Select Board's office.
Just by way of background, this is very similar in that Shoveltown Brewery had also applied and was approved for temporary outdoor dining under the governor's COVID order and your policy. They have gone before the Planning and Zoning Board for a minor modification of the existing site plan, which was approved. And again, they're here before you tonight to be able to extend their liquor license to that outdoor seating.
Yes, once again, Jim McSherry, thank you all. We're looking to make our outside patio a permanent solution at this point. Some people do sit out in the snow, but that's not what we're looking to do. But once again, trying to alterate our premise so we can extend we do have a farmer's pouring license. So once again, we're trying to extend it to the outside patio. We were in June fortunate enough to be able to get some cement barriers, some nice flower boxes. We spaced the tables out. It really helped us get us through the summer, with limited space inside, but also the outside allowed us to get back to somewhat normal. Now it's starting to slow down. It's going to be a tough winter for us, but once again, we're trying to extend our permit so we can have outside dining as the warmer months come about, and I think people enjoyed it. I think we're into our 7th month. We really didn't have any issues with any people as far as traffic and anything with the site, so I'm able to answer questions. Neil did a great job. Neil was like a champion. We actually, I don't say follow some of his things that he did, but we were complying CD also at the town. We did have a little mishap about 2 weeks ago, but we went through testing and we sanitized and cleaned, and we are back open, trying to enjoy some holiday sales before the cold weather really hurts us.
Terrific. And you have gifts, a gift line of sweatshirts, and you have other things that you have there also, right, Jim?
We have full merchandise, yes, some nice gift baskets. We did a collaboration with Hilliard's, which has worked out well for us with the beer, and also they have a beer brittle and beer caramels that kind of within a national exposure last year. So we put together gift baskets, merchandise. So yeah, people do like what we offer, and it's been a decent, I think, leading up to the holidays, people have supported us.
That's great. Well, people that are looking for those last minute presents you might see a flood of people in there this week.
Well, we're open special hours today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, Thursday, right up through. But the beer and the gift baskets, merchandise is always good too.
Okay, great. Any questions from anyone on the board?
I will just repeat what I had said to Neil, Jimmy, and to Frank, that it appears that the new CARES Act, which is in the process of being passed in Washington, will allow for companies like yourself to apply for PPP money, since you probably kept people on during this whole time and helping you to reimburse you for those expenses when you didn't have the income coming in. So if you're interested in that information, I'm sure I can get that information for you and Frank. So you might consider applying for that money.
Okay, sure. I mean, I've read about I know it was passed today, kind of with also there was an excise. We got some relief today. We pay an excise tax to the state of Mass and the TDB, the federal level, for all the beer we produce per barrel of beer. So it had been $7 years ago, reduced to $3.50, and they kept it at $3.50 today. So that's a bit of relief. So we don't start paying $7 again. So taxes helps us a bit. But Craig, that's a good idea. I'll take a look at it. I'm familiar with some of the legislative that was done today.
Good, excellent.
Terrific.
I do have one question though, Michael. Maybe you can answer this. I don't know. Do we have to extend the common vic license and the entertainment along with for the outside too, to be able to serve food outside, or is that a whole different? Michael?
Sorry. Yeah, we can work through that separately. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I would just point out that I think, Jim, you folks bring a tremendous amount to the community, and as I think about McGuire's and I think about Shoveltown, we're just so appreciative that there are businesses like you that really have become a part of the fabric of the town of Easton. You certainly contribute so much time, resources, fundraisers, and I think it's so important for the town to do whatever we can to help support you folks, keep you active, so that once we get past this, we can really get back to coming in and enjoying great beverages and a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. The curbside pickup has been brilliant. It's been incredibly safe. I've never seen it or felt any issues in the times that I've enjoyed that with people at the outdoor seating. And so if hopefully this works and you get a lot of activity, if there's a snowshoer contingent out there that likes to snowshoe and get a cold beer when the weather's cold, I encourage them to go. It's without question the best beer in town. So thanks for approaching us, Jim, and trying to do everything you can to make it work and stay active.
Thank you for the kind words.
Chuck or Mark?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
I'm all set. Good luck with everything. I can't wait to be there.
Thank you.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the all alcohol beverages license alteration for Shoveltown Brewery on premises of existing Section 12 restaurant at 50 Oliver Street, Easton, Mass?
I'll move, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard, and starting with you, Craig?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Good luck, Jim and Frank, and we hope you have
All right.
continued improvement.
Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you all soon.
Absolutely, Jimmy. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, next we have acceptance of donations for Unionville Field revitalization and vote to establish a gift account.
Sure. So in your packet, there is a brief summary. Donations of $7,745 have been pledged specifically for the Unionville Field revitalization. That is associated with the pickleball courts that town meeting just funded the construction of in November. This has been organized by Bert Lewis as part of a CPA request and at the encouragement of the committee for in-kind contributions towards this park renovation. So because we anticipate donations to be ongoing towards this, Ann Daly, the Deputy Director of Health and Community Services, spoke with the Finance Director, and the recommendation is that the board do a motion as two parts. One is accepting the pledge donations, but also establishing a gift account for this park. And so there's a proposed motion in your packet that would do both. If the board has any more specific questions, Ann is here and the attendees, we can move her into the panel. Otherwise, the motion is available for you.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
I think it's incredibly generous for people to help out in this way.
I think so too. All right, great. So Craig, do you want to read the proposed motion that is in?
I can't find it, Dottie. I'm sorry.
Okay, I will pinch hit for you.
Thank you. I appreciate
I will
that.
make a motion to establish a Unionville Field revitalization gift account for the purpose of receiving donations towards the park and to accept the pledged gifts in the amount of $7,745.
Second,
Barger.
Up, Tom beat you. So it's full Janetti and Broussard. Craig is falling behind. But you can start the vote though.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. And thank you to everyone that contributed for that. And thank you, Ann, for your role in bringing this all together as well. So item number 6, discussion and vote Stonehill funds for the Human Rights Committee art contest.
So Dottie, in the board's packet, there's again a brief summary in the TA and the town administrator notes, and also a copy of the Cultural Council application submitted by the Human Rights Committee. This is associated with the Rise Up for Humanity art campaign that the chair, Liz Bornstein, spoke of, I believe, at your last meeting. And I believe Liz is here she was here. Speak to this request. I know Craig can as well, but this is a $800 request. The committee is seeking additional budgeting funds for this from the Cultural Council. Human Rights Committee, like the vast majority of our committees in town, is entirely volunteer-based and doesn't have a recurring operating budget. So it's not uncommon for them to request use of some of the uncommitted Stonehill funds from a board. And as you'll recall, Father John's letter specifically encouraged the town to consider supporting human rights, equity, and racial justice in Easton. And so I believe that this request fits quite nicely with that. Craig, I don't know if you have...
I just want to say that I believe the phone, somebody has called in and I just looked into that is Liz's phone number. So
If it's 412, she said she was going to be calling in.
Well, hopefully I didn't misstate anything, because Liz will surely be able to correct me.
Liz, you're on mute. I think you have to hit *6 to unmute on cell phone. Hello.
Is that better now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I apologize for calling in from the phone. But yes, everything stated was correct. To recap, the Human Rights Committee came up with the Rise Up for Humanity art campaign to raise awareness and promote allyship in town, particularly in response to events in town that are very much counter to our committee and the values that we stand for. Like I had mentioned last week, we did apply for funding from the Easton Cultural Council as part of their grant program, but that is a reimbursement program, and we would need about $800 to launch the project in early 2021. So if there are any available financial resources with town to help fund the initial production, that would be appreciated by the committee.
Sure. Well, I think the committee has done some really incredible work. In fact, just amazing work. So many big projects over such short time span. So I think this is a great opportunity. I look forward to seeing this roll out. Anybody have any comments or questions?
I agree, Dottie, that the Human Rights Committee has done some extraordinary work in town. And this project is in response to some issues that have come to light. And that I think that this board has been very, very supportive of the Human Rights Committee. And I think that one way to be even more supportive is to utilize some of the unallocated resources that we have available to help out with this project. And my hope is that that all the board members will, in fact, be in line to pick up either a car magnet or something that they can put on their vehicle or their business or their home to support human rights and diversity in the town of Easton. So I want to thank all of you for your help in this matter, and hopefully that will be successful this evening.
Any other comments or questions? Would somebody like to make a motion to give $800 from the Stonehill grant to the Easton HRC Rise Up for Humanity art campaign?
I'll be happy to make that motion. Barger.
Second, Broussard.
So Barger, Broussard, back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Thanks for being here tonight, Liz. We appreciate it, and good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, next, item 7 is a presentation of a traffic safety committee report on Turnpike Street and Purchase Street.
Sure. So we have DPW Director Dave Field here. He's going to give an overview of the memo that is attached to your packet. The board had received a variety of questions regarding Turnpike Street and Purchase Street. Dave Field is part of a 3-member committee, himself and the police and fire chief, that review traffic safety related requests and report back to the board. We did invite, and I believe I see in the attendees, the resident who brought certain concerns to the board's attention so that he would be able to see the outcome of this presented. So without further ado, Dave, you want to walk us through the report?
Sure, thank you. Good evening. Dave Field, Director of Public Works. So this is a high accident location, Turnpike and Purchase Street. We've received many requests through the years about this intersection and about Turnpike Street. The requests I think that the resident brought up aren't necessarily directly answered by this, but we have limited ability on what we can do as far as changing speed limits and things like that. But this is a high accident location, and as such, the town, along with Old Colony Planning Council, Mass DOT, Fire and Police, did a road safety audit in 2018, and those findings are the first step in making any improvements. So we just wanted to, kind of get those findings and really start hashing out a path forward, both in short-term and long-term improvements. So I'll just go through each of the findings and what we're proposing to do about those. One of the first issues was the lack of advanced warning signs for the intersection. The DPW will be, there's no basically, intersection warning signs. So the DPW will be installing new intersection warning signs with solar-powered flashing LED lights. Those will be installed both north and southbound as you're coming up to Purchase Street. Issue number 2 is lack of sight distance due to vegetation. The DPW was able to clear Turnpike Street southbound. So when you're coming out of Purchase Street from the West Bridgewater, looking left, there was obstructions due to vegetation. We've cleared that completely to the property line. In northbound, it's not as bad, but we're requesting permission from a private property owner to trim some trees there. We haven't received that permission yet, but the southbound was a higher priority. So that has been done. Issue number 3 was the flashing beacons that exist at the intersection. The visibility is blocked due to utility poles and signs, and they're ground mounted, so they're not as effective. The recommendation was to install an overhead flashing beacon So we're going to put that in our capital plan for this year to design and install an overhead flashing beacon. Estimated cost is about $25,000. That's above our ability in our operating budget to handle. So we're going to put that on our capital plan, which will be submitted, I believe, next week, and see where we go with that. Issue number 4 was too few gaps in the Turnpike Street traffic. So this is a longer term issue. Basically, this intersection meets the signal warrants for 3 different warrants for installation of a traffic signal. So that's the long-term goal here would be a traffic signal at this location to solve a lot of the problems we have. This takes some time. We'll start the process with feasibility, project initiation and project notification forms. And this is probably a 5 to 15 year range solution. As you know, Union Street, Elm Street, and Depot Street are all TIP projects that we've been working on for some time. Each of those were started prior to 2010, and Union Street just got completed last year. Elm Street still hasn't been programmed, and Depot Street is out to bid right now. So that'll be completed over the next couple of years. So they are a long-term solution, but we have to start somewhere. So we'll look for capital funds to get the design started on that traffic signal. Issue number 5 was false right turn directional signals on Turnpike Street northbound. That's because vehicles can turn from Washington Street to Turnpike without actually turning. And so that leads to false right-hand signal indications. The solution on this is modifying the geometry of Turnpike and Washington Street. So basically Turnpike will be teed up to Washington Street. This is, again, a longer term project. It's going to take some design and coordination with the Mass DOT and some construction funding. It's likely we can probably lump both of those into one project with a signal, but there's a chance that we could get this done earlier because it could be a less costly project than the signalization project. So I would say this is in the 3 to 15 year range, but we need to start with some design money to get this done. Once we do that, if we could tee up Turnpike at Washington, I believe you'd have vehicles slowing down rather than just, kind of veering off of Washington Street and maintaining the speed they're at now. And then it would also solve that false turn signal indication. Issue number 6 was identified as poor pavement conditions. Since this time, both Purchase and Turnpike have been resurfaced, and that's no longer an issue. And then outside of the road surface, the road safety audit, we did a speed study just to look at what is actually happening here. And we found that the average speed on Turnpike Street northbound was 34 miles an hour with the 85th percentile at 41. And the average speed southbound was 37 miles an hour with the 85th percentile speed at 41 as well, coming into the intersection. So we want to make sure we let drivers know that the appropriate speed is 30 miles an hour. So we're going to be adding some additional signage here. So on the southbound side, we'll add some new modern signs for both the speed limit and to let people know the speed limit changes from 40 to 30. And we'll do that way in advance of the intersection. And then on the northbound side, where it's more problematic, where people come off Washington Street, we're going to be putting a driver feedback sign. The police department was able to secure a radar driver feedback sign, and we'll utilize this in an assembly just after Washington Street to let drivers know that there's a 30-mile speed limit and let them know what their actual speed is. So we're hopeful that will bring some awareness to the intersection, coupled with the LED intersection warning signs, and there's other improvements. We think that'll, in the short term, help the safety of the intersection, but the long-term solution is a signal. And I'll happy to answer any questions you have.
Honor, I think, had a comment or question.
Yeah, Dave, as far as the signal and you're referencing TIP funding, just for the public's benefit who may be watching, particularly the Washington Street portion of this, we don't just have to consider funding, but also the fact that Washington Street is 138, which is owned by the state, right? And
Correct.
the town can't, even if we had millions of funding available for major road improvements, we can't just go in and change DOT's road, right? So this needs to be kind of a cooperative project where we get the ball rolling on the town level for design years in advance and need to basically compete for limited state and federal dollars to make these major improvements to state roads. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then the design aspect of it is another problem because we have a lot of design projects right now in the queue that we've been utilizing our Chapter 90 money for, in addition to our road paving. So for example, Depot Street, we spent about $1 million in the design of Depot Street. We're spending on the lines of, $750,000 in the design of Elm Street. We've just done that on Union Street. We only have a certain amount of money that we're able to spend on these projects to keep those moving forward. So we'll have to start the design process here on Turnpike and Purchase, but it's, there's limited funds. So we can't just design it tomorrow and, put this on the tip project. It takes some time to get the funding for these design.
Well, Richard Wirtz is the person that sent us the letter, and he sent us a comment in the Q&A that this is a great start. He's glad to hear that the traffic calming, hear about the traffic calming at Turnpike in Washington. Let's keep this going. The signage is great. Route 138 lights, let's get the state involved now. Let's call Claire Cronin to get this going. So we can certainly call our legislators. They do support these types of issues, but they are not able to make magic as much as we would like to see. So I think that it's, I'm glad that you talked about this in terms of what we could do now, what we can get going now, and being realistic about how long it does take to get these things. So when we do have opportunities to move projects like this forward, our legislators do weigh in, and they support what we're doing. So I think that that's a good comment.
Scott?
Yes, Chuck.
David, well, why are 138 lights being talked about, whereas this is a little bit east of 138?
So the road safety audit that I attached did include 138 as well. It was done jointly, but what I'm talking about for a town project would just be the signal at Turnpike and Washington Street, Turnpike and Purchase Street, and a tee up of the intersection, not a signal, but just teeing up Washington at Turnpike. Washington at Purchase is also a problematic intersection that's completely in the realm of Mass DOT, and not as severe as Turnpike and Purchase.
That's by Doyle.
Still needs attention, but it's lower on the priority range.
Okay, thanks.
And when you say tee it up, Dave, I just want to make sure we're not, i.e. getting it ready. You mean actually change the physical layout of the street so it forms a T with where it intersects with Washington instead of the Y that it forms now.
Yeah, a geometric change to square up that intersection so it doesn't come at such an oblique angle. It would come at more of into a perpendicular.
Okay, so Mark just notified me that he's having trouble with his internet, so he's restarting and trying to get back on. So just for the minutes, Lisa, just you can mention that it's 7:33. Mark is not going to be probably participating in this vote if we move this quickly. So with that, any other questions?
Comment, David. I was very, very impressed with the comprehensive nature of the work that the Traffic Advisory Committee did. And I just want people to know that it was very well done.
Yes.
And the question
I'll pass
from
that along. Thank you.
Mr. Wirtz, what's the timing again on the traffic calming?
So the signage will be as soon as we can get the materials. The LED flashing lights take usually a few months to get in. And the speed driver feedback sign, we have it in-house, but we also need traffic signal poles and foundations. They go about 5 feet in the ground. It's a pretty decent sized assembly, similar to the rapid rectangular flashing beacon you see at Roosevelt Ave. If you look at that pole, it's a pretty substantial pole. So we have to get that in. So depending on the winter and how it goes, we'll move to do that as soon as we can, but it may take a few months.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you giving us this update. And thank you, Mr. Wertz, for sending in that letter to us. And I hope that this response is satisfactory. So the next item is discussion and vote community access cable agreement with Easton Community Access Television.
Sure. So this is the last item before Dave may as well take my seat for a bit. So I'll try to be quick. Attached in your packet is an operator's agreement between the town through the select board and Easton Community Access Television. This is related to the recent license agreements the board executed with Comcast and Verizon that I negotiated with Special Counsel Solomon. What this is basically the terms under which ECAT operates on behalf of the town to provide PEG, which is for public educational and governmental access cable for Verizon and Comcast customers. That's what covers these meetings. They cover town meeting. They do broadcast shows for members of the community. They do a tremendous amount in the community. And this lays out the terms by which they do so, because we pass for revenue from cable company licensing agreements through to ECAT to do that important work. So this agreement is a bit overdue. We worked on this together with Jason Daniels, counsel for ECAT, as well as with William Solomon, who the board appointed as special counsel for cable matters. Attorney Solomon approved this as to form. I reviewed it with him, and it's consistent with the existing operations of ECAT. The board of directors of ECAT voted last week to execute it on their part. So barring any questions or concerns from the select board, my recommendation would be that you do the same.
Any comments or questions? All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the community access cable agreement with the Easton Community Access Television?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Roger Broussard,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. And note that Lamb is not here for the vote. Next, we start with all of Dave Field's spending here. Number 9, discussion and vote contract amendment number 2 with Beta Group for wayfinding in Northeastern Village Infrastructure Project.
Thank you. As part of the Main Street design process and some of the feedback we've heard as we went through the design, there's a need for wayfinding signage. That was a kind of a consistent theme that people wanted, enhanced wayfinding signage to let people know that you're entering a downtown and that it has that downtown feel to help drivers understand the context of where they are. So as part of that project, we'd like to add an amendment for $32,400 to do a wayfinding master plan. So we don't just do wayfinding for Main Street that's in a bubble, but we do wayfinding that's going to work throughout the entire town. Just come up with the graphics, messaging, context of what the signs are going to say, work with focus groups and various town committees to kind of settle on, basically a selection or a menu of different signage, and then we can incorporate the needed signs on the Main Street project.
So this was something that we talked about way back when the first streetscape happened, and the Economic Development Council had talked about it about a year ago when Mark first joined the board, and Mark actually took it as his homework to go to other towns and look at their wayfinding and start to explore some of the things. So I know that the council is really interested in this and would love to weigh in on it too. Very happy to hear that this is moving forward. There's a lot of, a lot of people still don't even know there's a municipal parking lot. And, I know there's a sign there, but when you're coming in and you're trying to slow down and there's a lot going on and you don't really see the signs because they look like signs that you start to become like, desensitized to that, so I think it's great to really spend some time and look at good ideas for wayfinding downtown. Craig, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm just excited about the opportunity to do this too.
Tom?
Agreed.
Chuck?
I have no questions.
Mark?
No questions at the moment.
Right, terrific. So if somebody would like to make a motion to accept contract amendment number 2 with Beta Group for wayfinding in Northeastern Village Infrastructure Project Phase 1A.
So moved, Barger.
Hearing that this was Select Board Member Lamb's initiative, I would defer to him if he would like to second.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. Terrific. Item 10, contract award Cal Amp Wireless Corporation, Department of Public Works Automatic Vehicle Location System.
Thank you. This is a contract for a new AVL system for the DPW. We currently use CalAmp. We have for 5 years. It's part of this upgrade that's needed because our existing devices are on 3G, which will be obsolete. We need to move to 4G devices. The CalAmp has since secured a contract with the state that actually has lower prices for the devices than we pay now, and the devices will be provided for free as long as we sign in a 3-year contract. And that's why we're before you tonight. The total value of that 3-year contract is $60,245, but this will be paid monthly through our operating budget, through the snow and ice operating budget.
Terrific. Any comments or questions? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to award Cal Amp Wireless Corporation the amount of $60,245 for automatic vehicle location system?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Mark, you are on mute. Mark, did you say yes?
I did.
Okay, and Full Janetti, yes. So that's unanimous for CalAmp's contract award. Next up is the contract award for Liberty Chevrolet, Department of Public Works Water Division 2020 Chevrolet Silverado truck with plow.
Thank you. This is a contract for motor equipment. This was approved at town meeting. It's to replace an existing piece of equipment with a 2500 Chevy with plow for $53,896.31 through Liberty Chevrolet. This is being bought off the Greater Boston Police Council procurement contract.
Okay. Terrific. Any comments or questions on this one? And this, let's see. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to award Liberty Chevrolet for the Department of Public Works Water Division 2020 Chevrolet Silverado truck with a plow in the amount of $53,896.31?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard, back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. And Lamb's having technical difficulty, so he's not available for this vote. Next, contract award, the Peterbilt Store of New England LLC, Department of Public Works, 10-wheel cab and chassis.
Thank you. I'm actually going to speak about the next 3 contracts, just to give you the overview. We're replacing an existing tractor with both a low bed trailer and a dump trailer. It's a 1992 with 600,000 miles on it. We've squeezed out every last piece of life, and that is no longer in service. We're going to replace that with a 10-wheel dump truck. So there's a contract for a cab and chassis with the Peterbilt Store. There's a contract with JC Madigan for the upfitting. They'll add the dump body, the plow, all the other options that go along with the upfitting. And we'll add a trailer from Woodco Machinery to allow us to move equipment, basically like a backhoe or other pieces of equipment that we might rent that we previously used low bed for with the other piece of equipment. So this is 3 contracts, basically but 1 vehicle in the scheme of things, it's just one vehicle. So the first is the Peterbilt store. It is being purchased off the Greater Boston Police Council procurement. The total contract value of the cab and chassis is $118,280.
Okay. Any questions on that one? So if somebody would like to make a motion to.
I would actually, Dottie, if you don't mind, I just want to point something out. I go back to the age of the vehicle. I think you said it was 1992, Dave. So you're talking 28 years. And I wanted to point out that last year, when we were able to get together and we had the joint FinCom and select board meetings, and we talked about the financial cost of having the older machinery, I think we had a very data-driven comparison between the cost of repairs and maintenance for the water department vehicles, which are on average much younger than the rest of the fleet vehicles due to the mechanisms for how they earn their revenue and their abilities to have machinery that isn't as old. And I just want to point out that although the expense of monies at a challenging time is always thoughtful, that in this case, I think it's long overdue given the age of the machinery and the fact that it should lead to beneficial repairs and maintenance expenses as it relates to that particular 28-year-old vehicle that wasn't even in service. And I just want to point that out. I know that times are tight and money and revenues are something we talk about, but not making these types of investments can actually build up into more operational expense via repairs and maintenance down the road. So I apologize for expending that, but I think it's always a good, healthy reminder about how long Easton tries to get its vehicles to last. And Dave, credit to you and your team for keeping them going as long as you do. And I'm heartened that we're getting some new machinery for you folks to work with.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
I think that's a really important point to make. So I appreciate you sharing that and reminding everybody about that.
Very well said, Tommy.
So if there's no other questions, we're looking for a motion to award the contract to the Peterbilt Store of New England LLC for the Department of Public Works, a 10-wheel cab and chassis for the contract amount of $118,280.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
So Barger,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
and Full Janetti, yes. The next one is the contract award for J.C. Madigan for the upfitting for the cab and chassis.
Yep, as I mentioned, this is for that same vehicle. This would include the upfitting, includes plow, dump body, and material spreader with J.C. Madigan. It's also being purchased off the Greater Boston Police Council procurement. And the total contract amount is $104,790.
Any comments or questions on this one? Okay, if somebody'd like to make a motion to award the contract to J.C. Madigan for the Department of Public Works upfitting for cab and chassis in the amount of $104,790.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. And the third one is the contract award for Woodco Machinery, the Department of Public Works, a felling trailer for a 10-wheel cab and chassis.
Thank you. Said it perfectly, Dottie. This is from Woodco Machinery. This is being purchased off the Sourcewell procurement contract, and the contract amount is $29,070.
I have to ask, what's a felling trailer? I've never heard that expression.
It's just the manufacturer of the trailer. There's various trailers out there, but unless you're in the market, you probably wouldn't have heard about a felling. But as the options needed, they'll allow our guys to move, asphalt spreaders and backhoes, things like that.
I thought it was to pick up the trees that fell during storm. That was my guess. All right, if somebody would like to make a motion to award the contract to Woodco Machinery for the Department of Public Works felling trailer for the 10-wheel cab and chassis in the contract amount of $29,070.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard, back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Great. Are you also, you're not doing the Sursage ones, right?
I'll stay here, but I think Connor can speak to those, but I'll stay if there's any questions.
Okay, item 15 is Southeastern Regional Services Group, also known as Sursage, contract award for Department of Public Works Services from December 2nd, 2021 to January 31st, 2022.
Sure. So attached in your packet, I think both for items 15 and 16, these are annual contracts that we use for DPW through SURSAGE, which is a regional bidding consortium that Easton is a member of. This is a contract award for DPW services. The award sheet needs to be voted by the board. It's just a record for SURSAGE. You voted to award the contracts, but these aren't the actual contracts. There's some paperwork that comes with that where Dottie, as chair, you'd be signing them after the fact once my office prepares them. But these are for typical DPW services. There's a copy of what those are in here, trench patch repairs, rubber chip seal, and the like.
Great. I think the regional purchasing has done well by us. So does anyone have any questions?
Do not.
So I would ask the board approve SURSAGE's recommended contract awards for DPW services for December 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2022. Sorry, that's February 1st, not December. That was a typo. February 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2022.
I had never heard of a 13-month contract before.
Yeah, I was thinking that was weird as I was reading it.
That's why I was pausing one before. Okay, would somebody like to make the motion for that contract award?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. You faked me out. I thought you were frozen there for a second, Mark. And then on the next one for item 16, Southeastern Regional Services Group Contract Award for Drug and Alcohol Testing Services from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2023.
Sure. So similar concept, regional purchasing body bids the service of drug and alcohol testing. This is something that could be utilized, for example, for CDL license maintenance and things of that like. This is something ongoing contract we maintain, and it's on a per test cost. So it's not a some sort of large burden. It's only as needed. So I would recommend the board's approval of SURSAGE's recommended contract award for drug and alcohol testing services for January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
full Janetti, yes. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Have a great night.
And next is Washington Street refinance request approval.
Sure. So attached in your packet, you'll see a refinancing request approval associated with 244 Washington Street, which was a previously approved 40B and currently operating rental housing community. Under the regulatory agreement with the Department of Housing and Community Development and the town of Easton, the owners of 244 Washington, as with, I believe, any 40B, seek the consent of both the local approval authority, in this case the select board, as well as the state Department of Housing and Community Development for any refinancing of the financing of the project. In your packet, there's a letter to the board from Pierce Atwood LLP on behalf of the owners seeking your consent on this refinance. This is a similar action to what you have done for this property in the past in 2017. And the motion I prepared in the packet is slightly off. I have a different one, but this that I believe Donnie and Craig have, consenting to these new lending terms don't change the affordability restriction requirement of the regulatory agreement. So it's a financial approval, but it does not change the fact that this community has to offer affordability restricted units in accordance with their comprehensive permit. And if you're really curious on the details, I do see that the attorney representing the owner is here if the board does have specific questions, but this is basically housekeeping.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, Craig, do you have the update?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Motion to approve the request to refinance and for transfer of an ownership interest from Easton Apartments Owner 2 LLC to Easton Apartments Owner LLC, submitted by Easton Department Owners LLC and Easton Apartment Owners 2 LLC by letter dated December 8th, 2020, as referenced in the consent to refinance as presented, conditioned upon the final approval of the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, receipt of signed consent of the lender to the terms of the regulatory and use agreement, and the requirement the affordability restriction on the property shall remain perpetual in nature and may not be extinguished in the event of foreclosure.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard,
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. And thank you for being here, Attorney Orsmond. We didn't have any questions for you, so it was an easy one for you, but we appreciate you being here just in case we had questions. Next is the personnel plan update. Carl.
So sent to you separately because it is a couple hundred pages itself on top of your 300-page packet. Is the 2020 personnel plan for the town of Easton. So just a little bit of background, the town charter of the town of Easton establishes my position as a personnel director and vests for responsibility to maintain a personnel plan. And it's basically a compendium of job descriptions and compensation plans for every position in municipal government, from our office to the police department, fire department, public works, planning, the clerk's office, you name it. The job descriptions, the qualifications, and the compensation plans either collectively bargained or adopted by the Human Resources Board for us to run the government. As you can tell from the size of this file, it's a lot of work to maintain. I have to give all the credit to Mary Southworth in our office for doing 99% of that on our office's behalf. She does a great job. And this incorporates any changes that occur year over year. There's not a tremendous amount this year. The introduction of a personnel plan lays out kind of the how and the why of it. It has to quantify the number of full-time equivalents we have. For example, non-union, we have 17 and a quarter in total on the town side. You're around 137. That's less than what we've worked with in the past due to a variety of things. Some are long planned regionalizations like SEMREC, which went live a week ago, which resulted in the closure of Easton Dispatch and the elimination of 9 positions. But there's also, of course, some positions that we eliminated because of the budget challenges this spring. So as has been the case and is becoming ever more true, we run extraordinarily lean. And this document covers every job currently funded as well as those that aren't, because the lack of funding for a position does not convey a lack of necessity or need or merit. Those are just simply difficult choices we have to make, sort of to Tom's point about capital funding. There are a tremendous amount of needs we have that are unmet. We do the best that we can within our resources. I obviously am biased, but I feel quite proud of what we do with those resources. So the only real change from last year on this is the inclusion of current wage scales. I believe last year we may have had 1 outstanding collective bargaining negotiation. Now all of those are done. And this also includes 1 new job description of a non-union roster, which is for a part-time clerical position in the fire department that was funded through savings of dispatch at town meeting in anticipation of the current chief's retirement. No actions required. The board could vote to reject it. But if you do not, and I would request that you do not, but of course we'll answer to you if you would like to, it becomes effective in 30 days. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. Otherwise, with 9 days left in the year, we've met our charge. So I apologize for it being so late, but that's it's been a long year with personnel. So
Craig?
Kudos to you and Mary and Wendy, I would assume, so.
it's a safe assumption.
Just credit. I think that this is an incredible document. I know it seems like it's record keeping and it satisfies the charge, but I think in doing the exercise, there is value. And I think it helps appreciate the number of positions, the information, and you'd be very surprised at how not all organizations have job descriptions, and not all do a great job of keeping track. And this is one of those things where it's a tremendous amount of effort. And if everything goes right, you might not have to leverage it much.
Right.
But if you don't have it, then that's when challenges can present themselves. So credit for the team for doing this, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It can be scary, and particularly public organizations that don't have these kind of rosters and plans. You know, you want to be thoughtful about the hows and whys of employment.
Agreed. And I think it creates transparency. I mean, it's available for everybody in the town to see what each and every one of these positions does. And I think there's a tremendous amount of value from that. So this is a valued document. Appreciate the efforts.
Chuck?
And thank you to Mary for all the hard work she put into this and for those who helped her along the way. Thanks.
Mark?
Same as what everyone else is saying. You know, this is an essential document. You know, it's not the most fun thing to put together, but without it, you can't be without it. So it is an absolutely essential document, and it brings value that you don't really appreciate until you need it. So thank you.
And I think that, you know, going back to what you said, Tom, about transparency, you know, part of what's important is we value our town employees. And, you know, we talk often about how we do more with less. It's really important that we're also continuously looking to make sure that they're being paid competitively and fairly, and that this isn't, you know, these things don't happen willy-nilly. They're very well thought out, they're very well planned and very well executed, and job descriptions are refined. That's really important. It's important to our business continuity as an, you know, as an organization running the town. And it's important that the people in the town can see that there's a lot of thought behind this. So thank you to everybody who worked on this. I can't believe a couple of years ago, we didn't even have a full-time human resources person that could devote their time to this. So, you know, it's really great work. So thank you, and express our thanks to Mary and Wendy as well. So we don't need to do anything about this. So with that said, we'll move on to item 19. Discussion and vote for the town administrator goals and objectives for the fiscal year 2021. So every year we work with Connor to develop his goals and objectives. And then right before the election in the spring, the board who created the goals and objectives votes on the performance of those goals and objectives. I know that question comes up often. Why don't we wait until the new board comes on? It wouldn't be fair to do that, because this board, this is the opportunity that we have to say, this is what we think is important for this next year. Now, you know, with everything that's gone on, you know, with trying to keep business operational through COVID, we are a little bit late in getting to this, and I appreciate Connor putting it together. Some of this work, a lot of this work is in process or ongoing already, and I think it's also, when we look at it like this, we've done so much work in this past year that it's hard to remember when you go back and look at it, what we have been doing. So I think this is really a good recap also, and as a reminder of some of the things that we do value and that we do think are important. Connor, do you want to take it from there?
Sure. So first and foremost, just acknowledging that, you know, much like the Commonwealth of Massachusetts budget, it's not typical that we do the goals and objectives for fiscal year in month 6 of that fiscal year. But the performance review of last year's and the process was delayed because of COVID. We all worked on that together in the summer. And it's frankly just been so hectic of pace with COVID and all that entails on the local level that this was the soonest I could do a good job at putting this together. So I appreciate the board's patience. And because of that, you're going to see some things on there that we've already done, which is good. You would hope that I have something to show for the first 6 months. So that's kind of a down payment on that progress. But I tried to keep these as short as I could. It's still 7 pages. I tried to not be as wordy. I struggle with that. So I try to make it a little bit more plain than my normal ones. Try to condense it down and reprioritize the order of these items. And I'm sure that stands out to the board, and I hope the public, the number one top goal that I have, and I think the administrative organization has, is continuing to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, the Emergency Management Association has been meeting and working pretty much nonstop since early March, and that's not going to stop anytime soon with vaccinations on the way and things of that nature. So that, you know, has its own section called out, but there's also some kind of COVID specific items carved into finance and everything else because it's so all encompassing on municipal government. So what I did for the TA notes, because those are available to the public, as are my goals, and rather than read through every single bullet point, although I'm more than happy to talk about any one of them, is I tried to pull together, Dottie made a good suggestion to just do a bolded list of the really big ticket stuff this fiscal year. And so that's in the notes. I'm just going to go through it quick. The ongoing COVID response, including vaccine distribution planning and community distribution, that we're still learning more from the Department of Public Health on that. But in the past, including for pandemics like swine flu, local boards of health had a meaningful role in distribution of vaccines. So that's going to be a real push. I think it will be exciting. And I'll have more to come on that after the new year. Safe elections, again, these goals are backdated to July 1st. Conducting safe elections and town meetings during pandemic, a big goal. You know, we have April town election coming up still, but I feel pretty proud of the work that our teams pulled off for the primary, for the November presidential, for the town meeting in November. That took a kind of all of local government and school and community approach, and I'm very proud of the work our team and Danielle led up. So we just finished the fiscal 21 budget process at town meeting November 30th. The next morning, pretty much, Wendy and I were sending instructions to everyone to get ready for fiscal 22 to the department heads. So managing the fiscal 22 budget process with the ongoing financial uncertainty. And we're going to try and get back in the saddle and publish a GFOA eligible budget book again for fiscal 22. So that's the goal. Hope that there's enough stability in the state and federal planning process to make that doable, but we're aiming for that again. We've now started successor negotiations with all town unions. We'll be continuing to support you as rent control board with town council through the receivership and auction process for mobile home park. We'll be appointing a new deputy and chief for the fire department. Our application deadline was Friday, with tremendous amount of interest, which I think speaks really highly of the perception of the fire department and the town of Easton. So that's going to be a lot of work. Obviously, really, really important succession planning there with now interim Chief Partridge. We'll be advancing, as you just did a part of tonight, the Northeastern Village undergrounding project. We rolled the wayfinding in there. That's going to be going out to bid and hopefully going to construction in the spring. We have the Depot Street tip starting in the spring. That is going to be one of the largest roadway projects we've ever done. It will be nearly $10 million, dramatic improvements to the streetscape, sidewalks, bike lanes, moving the Civil War monument, signalizing Depot and Center. That's going to be a 2-summer project. We're going to get the construction going in the spring. That's a huge improvement. And to Dave Field's point, the planning for that started a decade ago. So now it's time to get it done. We will be advancing the Iron and Manganese water treatment plant design towards construction capital ask, if all things go according to plan, for spring for the fiscal 2022 capital budget. Concurrent to that, we're going to be advancing the PFAS preparedness engineering for a separate set of very likely to be water treatment plants. CPA project for town hall renovation is going to be getting going. That's something, you know, folks kind of uneasily ask if I'm aware of the entry to town hall doesn't look so great these days, and we all are, and that's we're going to be restoring the building to its former glory rather than Public Works and folks going to CPA piecemeal for a small renovation here, a small fix there. CPA had the wisdom to say, well, let's just do a comprehensive study and do all of this at once, and so that's why there was not as many individual repairs occurring for a couple of years. We're going to get that rolling, starting the design rolling, starting in calendar 21, and get that moving. That's going to be a great project. Obviously, the Blanche Ames Elementary School, that's going out to bid in a couple of weeks, which is incredible, and hopefully groundbreaking will be in the spring. So that will be bringing state-of-the-art school to the community, which will be wonderful. The Easton Police Department is launching a community outreach unit. This is going to be officers who are specially trained and focused on working with vulnerable populations within the community, parents who are formerly incarcerated, who are working on reintegrating into society, victims of elder abuse, and other vulnerable populations to help connect them up with resources so that they can successfully integrate in society. Give Chief Sullivan a tremendous amount of credit there for his vision on that. So we'll be supporting him on that. We have a decennial census wrapping up, and we anticipate a shift in our subsidized housing inventory metrics because of that. That's how 40B works. The board, to your credit, is already being, I think, extraordinarily proactive on that with some comprehensive permit projects in the pipeline. So we're going to keep our work up on that front to promote affordable housing, equitable housing, and keeping the town in compliance with 40B. Avalon 2 broke ground and made their full mitigation payment for the sewer, and they're moving forward. And of course, regional dispatch went live a couple weeks ago. I'm going to go back and check, but I'm fairly certain my very first meeting as acting town administrator 4 years ago in January, the board was voting to execute an intermunicipal agreement with Mansfield, Foxborough, and Norton. I think it's about 10 pages long. And that was it. It basically was a foundational document to a charge to form a regional government and build it in a legal, operational, construction sense. And we have now done that. The building is done. It was grant funded, not a tax dollar went towards it. SEMREC is live. Easton is now in it. We're all a happy regional family. And the director, Rob Verdone, that we hired, has done an incredible job. The chiefs have done an incredible job. The board was very supportive of it. All the communities were too. So that is a huge win for the community and a major priority that we've all been working to deliver for years. So that's the 10,000-foot view of some of the biggest priorities from my perspective. There's of course other important ones. The board's continued work with the Human Rights Committee as well, I should have noted. So if there's anything that's missing, anything, any questions on any of these things, I'm happy to build on it.
Very comprehensive, Connor. Thank you very much for this. I had one question that came to me. Is the SEMREC right off of Route 1 in Foxborough? Is that where the entrance is, with that red sign on the right-hand side as you're heading towards the stadium?
Yes, and I miss it. It's really hard to see the entrance, yeah, and it's kind of buried in the woods on the side of a mountain.
Yeah. I just noticed it the other day, and I said, "Hey, I think that's where SEMREC is."
It is, yes, yeah.
The only thing I'd say, Connor, first of all, deeply respect what you put together. I think it's a comprehensive package of goals that you seek to accomplish and or already have. I challenge you to approach the last 6 months with the same amount of energy and engagement required in the first 6 months and finish strong and pace yourself. I think it's really hard with so many critical projects that are before us, including a pandemic that we continue to deal with. So I would thank you for putting this comprehensive package together. I didn't find anything that was missing that I felt was a major priority project that should bear our scrutiny and your attention. And I think that just speaks to your attention to detail. I appreciate it. And I would in no way accept any apologies for it being late. I think that's unnecessary given everything that you've had going on. And I find this to be a perfectly acceptable document and then some for us to review at a later point.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Chuck,
No, I appreciate it, Connor.
Mark,
There's absolutely nothing missing in that document. You've covered everything. I couldn't make up half the stuff in there, to be honest. You do an outstanding job, Connor, and you're your hardest critic. So to Tom's point, please pace yourself, because we need you. We need you for the long haul here.
I appreciate that.
true. And you haven't missed a beat having to transition. And I mean, I see things so close from the inside. When any of these announcements come out by the governor, even on day one, I mean, when this started, I was on vacation the last week of February, and I get a call while I'm on the beach in Mexico from Connor, like, I got to tell you what's going on here. And I couldn't believe it because we didn't have TV on down there. So I had no idea that like everything was changing up here. And, to immediately have to shift the way that you do everything, every response, every facet of our local government was impacted by this and required, thoughts and changes and decisions. And then every time the governor came out and made a change, we hear it like the same time as the public, and having to change and shift again. So it was incredibly amazing to watch all of the department heads working with Connor under his leadership to do this work. But, they've been very, very taxed emotionally and physically. So I think that those are great comments about pacing yourself, pacing the work that has to be done. You can only work at that kind of, a pace for so long without starting to hate your job or get sick or things like that. So we want you healthy for the long term, and really appreciate you putting that together. So we need to take a vote on the town administrator goals and objectives for fiscal year 2021.
Moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Thank you. So the next item that we have is the standing update for COVID response. But before we listen to Connor give us the updates on that, I just wanted to call out some of the statistics on this and ask, that we just take a second to have a moment of silence to reflect on this. We have 721 residents that have contracted COVID since this began. And sadly, 48 of those lost their lives. And those are, fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, they're really important members of our community. It's a lot of people, and impacted with countless businesses and families that are suffering the economic consequences of the pandemic. And I think we really saw the emotion of that tonight when we had people come before us in many different ways, talking about, supporting our aging, to our business owners. People are really hurting for this. So for the people that have been impacted, especially those that have lost their lives, I just want to take a second to a moment of silence to reflect on that. So thank you. Connor, if you want to lead us in the most updated information about our COVID response.
Thank you, Dottie. So as is our standing practice at this point, I try to share the relevant data and what we're looking at here on the local level to make the decisions we need to make about continued COVID response. So I mentioned under the goals, EMA continues to meet regularly. We are in contact with more frequency now than we have been in many, many months. Obviously, as basically the caseload increases, so does the workload. So we're staying in nearly constant contact across health, fire, police, public works, schools, and administration to try to stay on the ball, particularly now as we head into what is thankfully going to be, we hope, the last chapter of this pandemic, as the vaccinations begin to roll out, there will be a significant amount of effort for us all on that part. So starting at the top layer and moving down in the United States, remains the epicenter of the pandemic. I think if you look towards the bottom left here, it's really quite shocking to see that, November 1st, we had 9 million cumulative cases in America, and today we have 17.8. So we've almost doubled in the past 7 weeks the amount of cumulative cases in 7 months. So it's really just completely appalling. We're nearing 320,000 dead in the United States. The rolling 7-day average of cases is at its highest point yet, as I've unfortunately been saying every time you see me. 217,000 per day in the United States, and the daily deaths are the highest they've ever been in the United States as well, which is the 7-day rolling average is over 2,600 per day. We've had over 3,000 multiple times in one day, which is just a almost incalculable and incomprehensible loss of life to have on such a regularly recurring basis. Rivals, all of us remember September 11th in 2001, and this is effectively that scale of loss of life every single day. This is the visualization from Johns Hopkins University of what that looks like. Case in the United States have been trending upwards steadily since a valley in September. We were averaging around 30,000 cases per day. Now we're at 217,000. Apples to apples comparisons can be made usually on hospitalization. They've more than tripled since September. We had 30,000 folks in the hospital in September in the United States. Now it is nearing 115,000 and going up seemingly every day. The worst of the surge in the spring and in the summer, as you'll recall, the amount of Americans in the hospital was around 60 to 70,000. So this is a scale we've not seen. This is what this graph looked like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So, again, just it's not heading up at the same exponential level, but it's still growing from a too disturbing level. And you'll see from our last meeting, hospitalizations increased by 15% in 2 weeks. Test positive rate, this is from a COVID exit strategy. This is the data aggregating website Governor Baker uses for his travel prohibition, which is effectively everywhere except Hawaii now, because the COVID positive rate is at an unacceptably high level effectively everywhere in the United States. Again, 2 weeks ago, largely comparable, some improvements in the Midwest. So in Massachusetts, the last meeting, we started to see the post-Thanksgiving surge that so many public health experts warned us about, and that has continued. As of the 20th of December, as of yesterday, there was 311,000 cumulative cases of COVID in Massachusetts. Just shy of 11,500 residents of the state have lost their lives. The average daily incidence per 100,000 of the state, 65, and the test positive rate is over 5%, 5.78%. The visualization of that, again, from Johns Hopkins University, does not look good. Average daily cases in Massachusetts have grown rapidly since October. We had about 750 cases that day. We have had 10 days in September already, December already, with more than 5,000 cases in one day. 3 of those, it was more than 6,000 cases in one day. These are numbers that were unimaginable even, I think, months ago. I know that, internally we were expecting it to tick up. I remember back in October seeing the first day of 600 and the assistant town administrator and I talking and saying, oh, well, I really hope we're not seeing 1,000 cases a day again by Thanksgiving. And now we're 5 or 6 times that. The average daily cases have nearly doubled since the beginning of November, and hospitalization rates in Massachusetts have increased to 6 times what they were Labor Day. Thankfully, they are not at their spring surge levels. During the spring, hospitalizations in Massachusetts were around 4,000. Right now, we're just shy of 2,000, but that is continuing to tick up. The governor and the Commonwealth have launched 2 field hospitals to build out hospital and ICU capacity in anticipation of that continuing to grow. So these slides are unfortunately a little text heavy. I'll try to be brief, but since our last meeting, I believe the next day, the governor announced that the entire Commonwealth would revert back to step 1 of phase 3. So what that means is that outdoor gatherings at event venues are limited to no more than 50 people. Hosts of outdoor gatherings of more than 25 people have to provide notice to their local board of health. There's a variety of other closures, certain recreation businesses, indoor high contact recreation businesses. And there's been some capacity reductions for other businesses. There's anyone who needs information on that, I encourage to go to mass.gov for business specific guidance. The administration also announced new guidelines for restaurants with seated dining, including that masks must be worn at all times except when people are eating. No more than 6 people at a table, 90-minute limits on table. And again, a lot of really kind of sector specific guidance there for restaurants. Some guidance for workplaces, office type environments, that people have to have their mask on if they're not at their own workspace alone. Those mere guidelines we have locally here for the town offices and have for many, many, many months. So it's good to see that that would be the case throughout the Commonwealth. The other restrictions from earlier in November are still in effect. The stay-at-home advisory between 10 p.m. and 5, and a variety of other early closures for alcohol establishments and the like. I mentioned the construction of the field hospitals. Certain elective procedures have started to be postponed. Since our last update, the governor gave a press conference and rolled out kind of a 10,000-foot view of the vaccination rollout plan in Massachusetts, which I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about because that is obviously extraordinarily welcome news. And I believe since our last meeting, the FDA has approved under emergency use authorization the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. So those are huge, huge, huge milestones in the story of this pandemic. Also just want to drop a quick note for guidance on holidays, but just generally limit to the extent possible the amount of people you have with you, ideally just your house. So this is from the Department of Public Health. This is the estimated COVID-19 vaccine timeline in Massachusetts. Starting effectively now, which is phase 1, you'll see December, January, and half of February. This is all subject to change based on logistics and vaccine availability, but what we're looking at, according to Governor Baker, is a 3-phase system. First phase in order of priority, making vaccines available to clinical and non-clinical healthcare workers, long-term care facilities, police, fire, EMS services. That includes our workforce. We are actively working on our aspect of that, and we should have more to say on that by the next meeting in early January. But Chief Partridge, Sullivan, Director Kennedy, and I are working on that with our SEMREC team with as much information as we're being given by the Department of Public Health. It's phase 2, tentatively scheduled for February through mid-April. Hopefully by March, we're hoping to be receiving 1.9 million doses of vaccine per month. Right now it's 300,000. Again, in a kind of descending order of priority, the state has prioritized individuals with multiple comorbidities who are high risk for COVID-19. Early education, K-12 education staff, transit, grocery, public works, public health employees. Again, you're going to have implications for our workforce on the town and school side of the aisle. Before finally getting to April or May, which is the third and final phase, which will be general vaccination available to everyone in the public. So this is incredibly good news. You know, Dottie made a really good point. You could hear the emotional strain this year has put on so many people, folks who were speaking earlier, the businesses in Easton and all around the country. It's just been incredibly difficult. So this is just such welcome news. But it's not here tomorrow, and it's going to take a lot of energy and commitment by everyone to keep doing the right things to stay healthy between now and when they do get their vaccines. So this is just a slightly truncated, more visual variant of that graphic. These are estimated timeframes. People can go get the most up-to-date information at mass.gov/COVID vaccine. The town will push as much information as possible as soon as we have it and it is relevant and useful to the general public as we approach phase 3. And again, we're going to have a lot of work. We're already in the midst of a lot of planning for phase 1 and 2 implications for our workforce, and we'll have more to say about that when we have refined it. So down to the Easton level, Easton held out admirably for a very, very, very long time, and now we have arrived in the red zone after having avoided it since August. We are now in the red, as you can see, is nearly everyone else in the area. Our cases, as we had predicted, not that it was a difficult prediction to make, would continue to climb, and our test positive rate has continued to climb, particularly now that Stonehill College is closed, and that source of lots of repeat negatives have been removed from the test pool. So this is what this map looked like a week ago, not even 2 weeks ago. Again, the DPH stopped issuing their own map. WBUR, a wonderful institution, takes the data and makes their own map for us now. This is Massachusetts on the 10th, and then 1 week later. So you could see it's just not moving in the right direction. I don't know where my floating head is on your screen, but if you look here, this is the cumulative case growth in Easton, which popped up really quick in April and then was very steady through basically November and has since taken off, much like the rest of the country. As of last week, DPH, we have 721 cumulative cases of COVID. At your last meeting 2 weeks ago, that number was 584. So there's significant case growth occurring right now in the wake of Thanksgiving. And as Dottie had mentioned at the top of this, we've lost 48 residents to coronavirus this year, which is a terrible loss for so many and for the community. This chart is the biweekly case growth. So how many new cases are we confirming every 2 weeks? And much like the Johns Hopkins chart for the country and for the state, it is moving in the wrong direction. Biweekly case growth in Easton is at its highest point yet. The average new cases we would get every 2 weeks back in October was about 15, so barely more than 1 confirmed case of coronavirus per day in Easton. The most recent 3 weeks in December of that is over 100. It's 105. The past 2 weeks, it's 133. So almost 10 cases a day. So we've almost gone up by tenfold since October, which is mirroring what we're seeing all around us, unfortunately. So this is our test positive rate. Not that I needed to put a huge obnoxious arrow there, but as we forecasted, once Stonehill's robust testing program ended when they sent their students home for Thanksgiving, that plus the actual increase of community spread that we are seeing everywhere have a compounding effect that our test positive rate has taken off. You know, we were below 1% on November 1st, and now we're nearing 6. So that's, November 1st, you were looking at 0.6%. Now our test positive rate is comparable to the state at 5.7. So again, much like you're hearing from Governor Baker, we don't have right now active clusters occurring. We can't point to one establishment and say, oh, those folks did the wrong thing. They didn't wear their mask, and that's why we have 133 cases in 2 weeks. We're just seeing widespread community growth. Particularly what tends to happen is that once one person gets it, their entire household ends up getting it. And that adds up really, really, really fast. Our current average daily incident rate and our test positive rate are still both below the state average, but we're moving closer to that, and they're increasing. You see kind of the DPH's chosen metric for population control or per capita control, the average daily incidence of COVID per 100,000. You know, over the summer, we were at 3, 4, 5, and now it's 40. So just really dramatic growth there that unfortunately, you know, despite holding out, since August, before getting into the red zone, we are now there, which just again reinforces all the things we know we need to be doing, particularly as it gets colder and we all head inside more. That as isolated and exhausted and difficult as the whole year has been, and as we all feel right now, particularly heading into the holidays again, you know, it's really the right thing for ourselves, our families, and the community to try to limit as much as possible what how many people we're interacting with, how many, if we let anyone in the house at all, if they're not in our household group, to make sure that everyone's masking appropriately and things like that. So onto our municipal services. I mentioned the last time we were in a regional task force with the city of Brockton. Dottie and Mark touched on, you know, despite these immense public health challenges, trying to work with businesses to highlight responsible and safe ways people can still patronize them and support them. I have not had a chance to read the text of the stimulus bill that was finally passed today, I believe, but I hope that there's some business support in there. We are continuing to provide services remotely as we have done. We launched a friendly caller program that Pradma spoke about. And then I touched on some of this earlier, which is for public health and safety perspective, EMA's keeping a really close eye on the local implications of the Massachusetts vaccine distribution planning. We're working on regional plans of our SEMREC partners, Norton, Mansfield, Foxborough, working with Stonehill. So we're in the early stages of that. It'll be exciting, exhausting, and a lot, but we'll have more to say soon. Congress finally, after months and months and months of delay, passed approximately $900 billion stimulus package. So includes some direct financial support, $600 per person, supplemental unemployment, about $300 a week. I'm unsure if it's been signed into law since this meeting began. I haven't read the text, but to my knowledge, it does not include any general or state or municipal government support, which is a real shame. And it's unclear. I've heard different things, but we're going to look as soon as we have the bill, whether existing federal support, financial support through the CARES Act that expires in 9 days has been extended. If so, that would obviously be a welcome development. We'll analyze it as soon as we get it, and we'll react accordingly.
If I can interrupt for 1 second, it looks to me that there was $284 billion in Paycheck Protection Program loans in this new CARES Act, and $8 billion for COVID-19 vaccine distribution. Nothing in it for states or localities.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I have read, and again, that is unfortunate, given the immense amount of a response that the federal government has left to state and local governments. So we will look more closely at that. Public health and schools are in constant contact for making sure that anyone who's sick isn't going into school and maintaining good protocols there. We have interns assisting the health department, and they're obviously working with the contact tracing collaborative on the state level, because this volume of positive cases developing on a biweekly basis is just not possible for 3-person departments to manage by themselves. And of course, public safety and works are fully operational. So I know it's been a long evening. I'm sorry if I took up too much of your time, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have, particularly about vaccination or things like that.
A lot of information. Just out of curiosity, how do people know when it's their turn? Like, if, I'm assuming I'm going to be like in April, is there like an announcement? Okay, people in this category, like, I understand, if you're a first responder, your organization probably is saying, okay, we have the vaccines, but I'm wondering if they, know how that's specifically going to roll out.
So I don't have the answer, and I don't know if that level of detail has been published yet. We, despite some of our workforce being in phase 1, we found out about this vaccine plan at a press conference when everyone else did. So I understand we're all moving as quick as we can, but So no, I don't have particulars about phase 3. We're still getting info on phase 1, but I would assume, well, I know that there are pharmacies working out contracts in some states to have it available, and I'm sure there's going to be an immense PR campaign associated with this once there is widely available vaccines. But there are folks, I'm sure you saw, the kind of uplifting imagery of frontline hospital workers. Brockton Hospital was featured in NPR last week, folks getting their vaccines. So for now, I think it's kind of workplace specific, but as soon as we know more, we'll share it.
Perfect. Any questions, anyone? Well, thank you so much for that update, Connor. As always, very comprehensive. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Select Board annual license renewals. Michael?
Punt to Mike.
Yeah, sure. So as the board will see, attached in your packet is a list of the annual license renewals for calendar year 2021. For the benefit of the board and the public, I'll just kind of hit the categories. So these include auto dealer class 1, which is new autos, auto dealer class 2, which is used autos, billiards, club all alcohol, common victual license, which are restaurants, entertainment, jukebox and electronic games, package store all alcohol, package store wine and malt, restaurant all alcohol, and restaurant wine and malt in Farmers Series pouring permit. I did want to just add for the select board, we did receive very positive feedback about your very generous gesture to reduce some of the fees associated with the restaurants and the alcohol licenses. That was well received and appreciated, so I wanted to pass that on to you. And if the board had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but we recommend that the board vote to approve the list as a slate, conditional upon sign-offs from all required town departments.
Questions?
None.
Okay, Craig, do you want to make the motion?
So moved. Barger.
So Barger, Broussard, and this is to approve the slate.
Barger, Slate.
Broussard, Slate.
King, Slate.
Lamb, Slate.
Nettie, Slate. Thank you. Michael, I know that this is a lot of work in preparing this. It looks simple when we see it by the time it gets to a spreadsheet, but I know it's a lot of coordination, a lot of time. So I really appreciate you keeping track of that and keeping it all straight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Town administrator notes. Did we cover everything? You're on mute.
Just thank you to the board, to Mike, Lisa, Mary, the staff, all the employees at Town Hall, and the community for their patience and grace during a really difficult year. And hopefully 2021 will be much brighter with hope, and we'll all get through it together as we did this one.
Awesome.
Any comments from the select board? Okay. So we have acceptance of open session minutes of December 14th, 2020. If somebody would like to make a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Barger, Broussard.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Janetti, yes. So the next item 25 is the acceptance and or release of executive session minutes. Every so often we go through the executive session minutes that have been accumulating. Often we will vote to accept the minutes but not yet release them because the case is still pending or the action is still pending. So Connor went through these and separated out some categories of acceptance only but not to be released, previously accepted now to be released, and minutes for acceptance and release. So they're listed in our packet. So I would make a motion to accept the minutes of March 26, 2018, January 28th, 2019, May 13th, 2019, July 22nd, 2019, August 5th, 2019, and December 2nd, 2019 for acceptance only, not to be released.
Second, Barger.
And the roll call vote, Craig?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. I'll also make a motion to, for executive session minutes of February 24th, 2017, February 27th, 2017, March 6th, 2017, May 1st, 2017, July 10th, 2017, September 17th, 2018, September 26th, 2018, October 15th, 2018, and October 29th, 2018 to be, these were previously accepted, and the motion is to allow them to be released.
Second.
So that's Full Janetti and Barger.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. And last but not least, the executive session minutes of September 11th, 2017, September 25th, 2017, October 17th, 2017, October 30th, 2017, November 13th, 2017, December 21st, 2017, January 8th, 2018, July 23rd, 2018, November 19th, 2018, August 19th, 2019, and February 24th, 2020. I think I said November 19th, 2019, but that's 2018. These are for acceptance and release.
Second.
So that's Full Janetti and Barger.
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. So is this it on the agenda? Did I miss anything?
I didn't see anything.
That's it. So I just want to say, you know, we all know what a tough year this was, but I think that there were some really bright points throughout it too. And I think that we still managed to continue to do some really great things in town. We found new ways to do things. People found new ways to communicate and reach out and help each other. And I want to thank Connor and the staff for the incredible amount of work that they've done, but also particularly to thank this board for really staying so focused and committed to getting the job done and supporting the work that the town administrator, you know, working cooperatively with that administrative team. And also to the people in town who have been really patient. They've shown up to meetings, they've asked questions, they've gone to town meeting to vote for really important things. And it really, we can't do it if all of those pieces aren't working together. So my wishes are for everyone, you know, to have a wonderful holiday season and cheer on a exciting 2021 and put 2020 behind us. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Broussard.
All in
Barger,
favor?
yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Stay safe. Happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.